Hi there, and welcome to my very first show on milehighradio.com. I am Deb Creer, the socialite, and I am passionate about helping people use social media to promote themselves and their businesses. And you have no idea how excited I am to have my very first guest today, the world-famous author. She's laughing at that, but she is world-famous. You know, that's the cool thing about social media is we're no longer communicating with just the people around the block. We're talking with people around the world. So my guest today is Andrea Vall. She is a social media coach, a strategist, and a speaker who consults with small and medium-sized businesses all over the world.
Hi everyone, it's Andrea Vall, and I want to give a big shout out to Deb Creer and congratulate her on her 500th episode of the Business Power Hour. It's an amazing show with wonderful tips for any type of business, and I am super honored that I was the very first guest on her show. So thank you so much, Deb, for interviewing me, and thanks for all the things you've done for the business community. If you guys haven't had a chance to check out Deb Creer's Business Power Hour, check that out. Listen to the episodes. They're going to help your business. All right, bye everyone.
And now, live from Atlanta, Georgia, everyone's social media friend, it's Deb Creer. Every week, Deb talks with the movers and shakers, the experts, the best of the best in social media, bringing you all of the latest tips, techniques, and trends for successfully using social media. In social media, there's only one constant: Deb Creer.
I am Deb Creer, and this is so much fun to have yet another celebration of my 500th episode. Part of all of this is in connecting people, and giving people great resources. So to that end, I would like everyone to take, just a little bit and introduce yourselves. So let's start with Jeanette. Tell us just a little bit about yourself, darling. So you got that top corner, so.
Yeah, exactly. So happy anniversary. I am not surprised whatsoever, but congratulations. That is really an amazing milestone. My name is Jeanette Sibley. I'm a keynote speaker, executive coach, and an author. And one of the books that Deb and I have talked about several times, it's called It's Time to Brag. And what that does is help people get over this fear of selling themselves.
Right.
Because if you can't sell yourself, you're not going to sell your product, service, ideas, or books.
Right.
So that's what Deb and I have talked about, I think about 4 or 5
I
times.
think so. I think you're
Yeah.
one of the guests I've talked to, because you've had multiple versions of the book too.
Correct. We got the career edition, we got the business edition, and the new edition's coming out later this year.
All right, Lady Jane, tell us a little bit about you.
Let's see, 30 years of sitting in my basement, primarily working with a plumber. So who knew a career could be established in that way? But a public relations communications consultant, and have been doing that independently for all of those 30 years from my home. So grateful that I've been able to do some award-winning work, and especially grateful that I've been able to lead. I was national chair of the Public Relations Society of America a couple years ago. And so an opportunity to really be at the forefront of my industry, and I know an industry that you dabbled in before you were doing 500 episodes, so congratulations on that milestone. And I think what I do best is teach people how to be strategic, how to have a little bit of fun, hopefully a lot of bit of fun, how to laugh in that process to spur their creativity, their innovation, and their problem solving. So, and in the end, that means that we get some business results, positioning companies and all kinds of companies. I talked about a plumber, but I've worked with engineers, and I've worked with state programs and nonprofits, and very proud of the work that I do for CASA, which is Court-Appointed Special Advocates. They are my pro bono client, and we work with kids in the court system. and I am an advocate. I've had 13 kids at this point, but have had a very rich and lively and wonderful career, and introduced to you all earlier the 53rd intern that started working for me. And so that intern program is a big part of what I've done and what I think in being able to give back to the industry to invest in the future generation of communicators that are coming out. So
Great.
always glad to be a part of this and you and all the great things that you do, Deb.
Yay. So Kim, we're going to skip you because I want to come back and talk about your special. So Katya, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi there, I'm Katya Rasan. I'm spiritual mentor, speaker, and author, and I help spiritual entrepreneurs, coaches, and creatives to overcome their energetic blocks to fulfill their purpose. Well, that is the calling in their heart. And I love supporting people on their path of purpose. That is something that is very meaningful for me. And having my own journey as well, I know that there might be some struggles and some moments of doubts, but it is possible, I believe, to really overcome those and live the life that you dream of. And that's what I do with my clients. I help them to succeed on purpose.
Perfect. I love it. And where are you coming to us from today?
I am coming from Marbella, Spain. And if you wondered where this accent is from, it's all over the world. But originally I'm from Finland, and I have traveled all around the world, but now I'm located in this beautiful spot in south of Spain.
I love it. I love it. And thank you. I think you're probably, out of all the people who have done this, you've come the farthest to visit with us during these calls. So thank you so much. Very cool. Very cool. Michelle.
So hi, everyone. I am Michelle Hoagland. I'm the Director of Online Strategy with Top Hat Creative Marketing, and we work primarily within the healthcare industry, building Google business pages, SEO, business listings, and social media coaching. So we help patients find their perfect doctor, and vice versa, help the doctors find their perfect patients to work with. I've been doing this a little over 5 years, and absolutely love it. I've known, Deb, I was trying to figure out how long you and I have known each other. It's probably been
quite a while.
Yeah, it's been about, I think going on 7 years. So not as long as 30, but we're getting there.
Right.
And I'm a proud mother of 2. I've got 2 kids in college. So my husband and I are empty nesters now, and doing some traveling and just enjoying life.
I love it. And Michelle and I have another little touch point in the fact that, that nasty big C word hit us both. But clearly we are strong. We are survivors. We are warriors, and doing very well. So it's interesting how both of us have used social media as part of our journey through all of this.
Right. Yes. I actually have taken my journey with breast cancer and created a Facebook group called The Boob Report, and have since bought the domain name, and will be launching the website in the Denver metro area as a resource for women who have been diagnosed with breast cancer on why physical therapy is so important, support groups that are available. It's going to be a one-stop shop for absolutely every question that a woman with breast cancer might have. And my goal after 2020 is to take it national and have it in every major city in the United States. So.
Cool.
Yeah,
cool.
That's my goal.
Great. And, we're both going to be doing this like 20, 30 years from now. So.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Great. Well, I see that Tess just joined us. Hello, Tess. How are you? What we're doing is we're going around and just introducing ourselves very quickly, and it's actually to you. Sorry to put you right on the spot.
Hello, everybody. My name is Tess Casso. I'm from Chicago, and I am the author of the children's book series, I'm Very Ferris.
Tell us a little bit more about Ferris.
Ferris is my 16-month-old son and my inspiration.
So cute.
Yes, he was conceived via in vitro fertilization, and I therefore went and made a career change and became the author of the first children's picture book series focusing on IVF through the eyes of a child.
Right. And it was interesting when Tess came to me and said, hey, I'd like to be on your program, because I went, not sure how this is business related. But, what we talked about was obviously, the book and things like that, but how Tess really did completely change careers, and especially how she has used social media to promote all of her various activities. And so it's been great learning.
Thank you. Yes, and I was in television media before this, and corporate America, and took my entrepreneurial background and started this company. And the book launched in January. The company's been going since July of 2018. So things happen for a reason, and I feel I'm in my calling, and it's going very well. And the second book is on the way and due out at the end of the year. So
Cool. Several people with books out at the end of the year. I can tell already we're going to have a busy January. So then the other person I'm going to introduce her is my wonderful, my fabulous producer, Kim. Oh, I'm getting an echo. Anybody else hearing an echo?
yeah.
Okay. Oh, well, we're just going to work through it. So Kim is my virtual assistant. And as I said, she is the producer of the program. I love working with virtual assistants. And it's funny, I've interviewed people several times on the program about virtual assistants and, how to work with them, how to set your expectations, all these various things. And to be honest, Kim is the first person that I have worked with that it has worked out. And a big part of that was setting expectations, having a job description, all sorts of things. But I know it's really just because Kim is an absolutely fabulous person. So Kim, go ahead and tell us a little bit more about what you do, because she's not just a VA for me.
Thank you, Deb. I'm so glad to be here with everyone. I sit behind the computer and reach out and take requests from all these wonderful guests and nag you guys with emails and share your post and their spaces to the people. So this is wonderful. As Deb mentioned, I am the producer for the radio show, and I just looked it up. We started working together January 2017.
Wow.
Actually, in January it will be 3 years. And it's funny that you say setting expectations and kind of having a system, because when I came on board with you, I mean, it was a perfect situation. You had everything lined up. I don't know how I couldn't be successful. Deb had a system for everything, and a process and a list, and I love that stuff. So I think it was a perfect match with our organizational skills and our kind of OCD maybe, or being a little
type A.
Yeah, about certain things, and we both have our little nitpicky, so it works well. And I do virtual assistant work for other clients as well. And it's really just helping business people and entrepreneurs who have a need to get stuff, really. I call it stuff because it's the business stuff off of their plate that prevents them from really moving ahead. For Deb, she could sit here and do all of the behind the scenes work with the guest and do the uploading, but she's doing what she's good at, and that's obviously 500 episodes later, chatting away with the wonderful guests. So very glad to be here.
But by having Kim and having her do such a great job, that really is a big part of why we made 500. So not worthy. Cool. Well, most of you, I think, were guests fairly recently, as in the last couple years. I mentioned that we started this way back in 2011. But it's been fun. But one of the things that I always want to know is there something new that has happened, in your worlds that you want to share with people, since the last time we chatted?
What I would tell you is, Deb, is that I'm seeing a shift. I'm seeing a shift in the business culture world. A shift. We saw the pendulum swing to the customers, everything, and all that. I think our pendulum swings back and forth all the time. But from a communications perspective, what I'm seeing is shifting back to an internal perspective. We have happy employees and qualified employees and enriched, engaged employees they serve our customers better. They are better in their outreach and their sales and any of the other tasks that they might be taking care of. So from a PR and communications perspective, we're seeing a very different mix of what we're doing for our employees, much more community oriented, which is a focus area for me, and it always has been. But as media begins to diminish, and we're challenged with that, but then there's the rise in community journalism and blog influencers and all of those audiences that are coming to be citizen journalists that are coming into the fold, and the creation of digital content being produced by companies themselves to put their own stories out in the way they want them to be told. That's a shift. That's a shift in mindset. And I think part of that is because of millennials, quite honestly. They're a very driven group of people.
And they're used to having this in their hands.
They're used to having that in their hands. That's part of their weakness, is that they're incredibly impatient. But at the same time, I think they're very intuitive about what makes people tick. The social responsibility, the social impact of businesses and what that means, and not only internally but externally. And so I'm seeing a little bit of a shift there, at least from a communications PR perspective.
Interesting. And I definitely agree. I don't have employees, I have Kim, but I think when I've been talking with people, they do realize, and Jeanette, I think really can back this up too, that we have to get and keep good employees. When we constantly had that churn, nothing got done well. And so now it's about getting and keeping the right people and keeping them happy. And some of that is, a lot of things like flexible work times, flexible, you can work from home, different times, all of those various things. But I think more, as Jane said, they want to be involved in their communities. And I think that is partially because of millennials. I mean, that is something that is very important to them, that their employer gives back in whatever way, and we've certainly seen that.
And I would agree with that wholeheartedly, Deb. One of the other shifts that I'm seeing is self-promotion. People are learning how to promote themselves inside the company as well as outside the company. So, when you're talking with sales marketing people, yeah, they should be out promoting themselves outside of the office. And some of them do a very bad job of it. And as a result, they get very discouraged. And then those inside are like, they also don't feel like they're contributing anything because they're not trained how to look at what they've done and how it's made a difference. Like, what's the impact I've had on my job, on the customer, on my coworkers, on my boss, on the company, on the reputation. They aren't trained to do that. Earlier this year, I was a breakout speaker for the Society of Women Engineers for their Denver conference here. And I did a presentation called Get Your Brag On. And it was sitting room only, meaning there was a lot of people seated on the floor because the room was set for like 80 people, a lot more than that there. But the big surprise for me was and most of these people that were there, most of them women, a couple guys, was most of them work inside corporate America. They're not salespeople. They're not marketing people. But after going through the exercises, you could just see the energy in the room just go from here to up there. It was just so inspiring. And it was really cool because I'm going to do a little brag on myself here, is that they then, and I didn't even know they were doing this. It was a complete shock, but they awarded me the People's Choice Award for Best Speaker.
Cool.
And there was a lot of people in that room, and there's a lot of other speakers and things like that. Exactly. Thank you. But what it did was drive home for me the importance of people learning how to share themselves in such a way that is not obnoxious. It's not the brag in the negative term, but it's like sharing yourself from a confidence.
Right.
Building the confidence. It's helping their bosses better understand, oh, that is what you've done.
Right.
Because most bosses have no clue what you do.
Right.
Yeah, you know what, Jeanette, that also comes back. I wrote a note about your book too. I need to get it from my interns. Here's what I have always found. We're trained by society, and we probably have done it ourselves to our children. Don't brag. That's not a good thing to do. That's just not nice. It's not polite.
Especially our generation. You know, that was it was not ladylike.
No. I don't even think it was manly like.
It wasn't.
I think moms taught their kids that was impolite and not a thing to do. The problem is then you grow up and all of a sudden you have to write a resume. You have to go interview. You have to position yourself within an organization and have a seat at the table. And I'm not even talking about the CEO's table, the C-suite. Any table you're seated at, you should have command some sort of presence and value at that table, whether you're entry level, mid-level, whatever that might be. So your leadership role can grow and transcend depending upon what table you're sitting at across the career journey. But when we don't understand the difference between accomplishments and bragging, that's a problem.
Right.
It's a real problem. And I think people see when I've achieved the People's Choice Award, that's bragging. No, I don't think that's bragging. That's fact.
No, it's great.
Fact. You were chosen. So there's some awards sitting on a shelf over there. Those are legit awards for great work that was done. Did I get an award for every work that I've done? No. Did it merit an award? No. But those projects did, and they were amazing. And then therefore they were rewarded. So learning how to transition out of bragging versus just sharing your accomplishments and the value that you bring to the table, I think is tricky for people. It probably always will be because people are uncomfortable about talking about themselves.
Right.
And I would agree. There was a really amazing quote by Muhammad Ali that said, "It's not bragging if you've done it."
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I love that quote because a lot of times, like Jane just said, it's like if you share something that you've been successful at, people are going to think poorly of you.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the opposite. People, you get their attention in a whole new way, like, oh, wow, I hadn't considered that person for that work, so now I'm going to do that, right? So it's just amazing. I love the difference it makes.
Mm-hmm. I know. Well, you know, I think one of the big differences in the last, you know, like from when I started in the job market to now is exactly what Katya talks about. And that's, you know, that what's in here and then, you know, what's in here as opposed to I can write a website, I can do this, I can do that. It's, you know, it's very different. So, you know, Katya, what have you seen?
Yes, and thank you for sharing those because I come from a culture where definitely you should not be proud of what you achieve. We are learning, but it's always like being humble. But I think there is a difference when we are just uplifting ourselves and uplifting our energy, and it comes from a place of heart, not putting others down, but it's just like, I have done this so that I can show you can do it too. It's possible. Somebody has gone before you and done it. It's possible. And sometimes we are even pioneers and we are doing things that nobody else has done before. But that's the moment when you need to have the vision and you need to believe that it's possible. And that's something I help with my clients with, because sometimes you might be surrounded also with people who might be pulling you down, like they want you to be normal and stay in your place and not to do something different because that makes
them look bad. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because then you are needing to face like, did I go after my dreams? Did I do what I wanted to do, or did I listen to others? And that's like something like connecting with your purpose, connecting with your why. Why do you want to do something? Because that will help you to move forward and do those things because you do them for you. Mm-hmm. Like if others love it, great. If they don't, I do it anyway because I do it for me.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and then of course we have one of those dreaded millennials, and you know, and it's so funny, you know, and you know, talking of Tess, of course, but anytime people say bad things about millennials, I look at the millennials that I know. Now I know them through things like this. And so clearly they are, they're career minded. It is very different. But I love millennials. I think they're great. But they are doing things that are just astounding. I mean, when I mentioned, and Tess mentioned too that she wrote this book on. I don't even know, is it back here? I might have it. Is it back here? Look, here it is. Here's Ferris. My generation would have never talked about something that publicly. And now it's commonplace to say, we had to have a baby through in vitro, and to kind of talk about, some of the challenges that we're faced. And so I love that, that we have these new generations that are taking on these things just head on and not seeing anything at all wrong with it, because of course there is nothing wrong with it.
Right. Kind of going off of that as someone who is a millennial and then came forward with a product that is very and new and partly controversial to the market and the book market, and on top of that, children. I think that taking business background, taking just female empowerment, and taking a personal experience that the world is now starting to become more and more open about, was just a driving force for me to come forward and say, I'm like many other people, both young and old, that have gone through this, maybe in the past had gone through this or didn't have these options available to them, but now are aware, or maybe have family that are going through it. Maybe it's themselves. And yes, through the power of social media, through the power of marketing, I'm able to come with this product and say, I've got something I think that the world needs. And so far, I'm on the right track. Like I said, I'm already on the second book in my series, and I'm seeing such positive response. And that all has to do with literally just kind of breaking glass ceilings, coming forward and saying, listen, I've got something that people need to read. And taking also the backlash from that, because like you said, people aren't always open to talking about tough topics, and especially one so personable. But the more that you come forward, the more that others feel comfortable at least to acknowledge it and feel that they're not by themselves, which applies to a lot of topics out there.
Yeah, and that's so true, because there are so many things that people think, oh, we shouldn't talk about in polite society. I think that's what my mother would the term that she would use. And I mean, just to see the shift in various things. We had to lose. We lost Katya. She in Spain. Let's see, it would be 8 p.m. there, I think. So, but yeah, so it was such fun, and we are so glad that she was able to join us. But yeah, we don't talk about things like that. And I think social media really has made a big difference in a lot of what, used to be taboo is no longer, and I mean, shoot, you can talk about anything anymore, but but then it still kind of has this challenge, because you want to come, you do still have to come, be professional so that you're taken seriously, and all of those things. And that was one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to Tess about her book and see it. Isn't he just so cute? And you have to connect with Tess so that you can see Ferris in real life. He wears bow ties. But it really is a time for, especially women, I think, we're really coming onto our own. Even those of us that are, a little long in the tooth, it's no longer the time, when we have to kind of hide. We can brag. We can talk about, we have breast cancer. As I was saying with Michelle and I mean, it's something that is very different. And it's funny because Jane and I actually initially met, I believe, when I worked for the American Cancer Society, and Jane was a committee member. And so we were talking about breast cancer, and Jane was doing the media outreach. And, so this was 26, 27 years ago, probably. And we had to be very careful with what we said to the media, because you didn't talk about things like that. And I think we could say breast, but that was probably, pretty, big.
That was a little scandalous.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And so, now it's just like, whatever.
Here's a funny story for you, Deb, along those lines and how it's changed. I work with a urogynecology practice here in town, and we were going to be doing some things around the stock show. And there's a local radio station that was going to be doing some top of the hour. We could buy and sponsor those segments during the stock show, and it would reach women, key audience that we wanted to reach. And so I said, awesome, we're going to talk about women who have pain during intercourse, pelvic floor disorders.
And those cowboys went.
Well, no, this was the hilarious part. So, and there's a treatment that's non-invasive that can allow women to really have relatively pain-free intercourse and change their lives. So it's all good. They're all excited. We're all excited. We got this nice little ad buy budget. They're all happy. Everybody's happy. Ad rep's happy. And then she comes back and goes, we just can't talk about that on the radio. And I was like, you can talk about ED.
Oh yeah, the blue pills.
With no problem. But the fact that a woman may be having pain during intercourse is an issue, and that there's a treatment for that. I'm like, I have some issues, and we're just going to pull our money. She wanted me to buy in some other areas and do some other things. I'm like, you know what? I think we can do a buy somewhere else. Hilariously, that radio station has now changed. As a result of that conversation, I said, you need to go back to your management and you might want to have a chat. It's 2019.
Right.
It's okay to talk about feminine things. We've been doing it for centuries. And there are a lot of women who don't have a problem. Right. And I'm guessing that most men will tune it out anyway.
Oh yeah, they're going to hear the very start and they're going to.
Well, not even that. I think they don't care. So there's so much noise in our world now of what we can and cannot listen to that we tune out what we don't, that doesn't resonate with our heart, as Katya was saying, or that doesn't resonate with what we're doing in our work or our lives or friends or whatever challenges we may be facing. So, but an interesting shift by that radio station to come back just literally 6 weeks later and go, yeah, we had a chat. Just so you know, you changed some things. I'm like, awesome. We may be back next year.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure they're looking for an ad buy come stock show.
So we do have a gentleman who has joined us.
That's the first time you call me a gentleman.
I know. Now, I want to preface this with, this person is responsible for the 500 episodes. He got me started in doing this. And, and so major kudos to you for giving me the opportunity to say what I want to say, to have a platform, and to be able to do this. And so please, everybody, join me in welcoming Larry Andrews Haas to our program. Yay!
Thank you. Almost got me kicked out of the witness protection program. Well, I'll tell you what, it's my pleasure. And kudos to you.
Thank you.
You have been more than just a radio host. I mean, we have become, I think, very good friends. I have watched you grow in your programs. The quality of your guests never ceases to amaze me. It takes a lot of work to do what you do. But then to do it and fight the battles that you have fought along the way, my heart reaches out to you. My hat's off to you. I bow to you. You're an amazing warrior.
And it is about being a warrior, but more importantly, it's about having the people around you that support you.
Amen.
And I was still with Mile High when I was initially diagnosed, and then went into the hospital, and then really went into the hospital. And I did, and this was prior to the time that I was working with Kim, and so I was doing everything myself. And wham, all of a sudden, I mean, and it was, I literally dropped off the face of the earth. I'm not even sure if somebody even communicated with you that there was a problem, and you just went merrily along, and we had the best of. episodes that you ran
Yep.
for about a month. And, somewhere in there, I think Tom was able to communicate and say, okay, this is what's going on. And so I really did lose a month of programming, but, it was, we probably had one program where there was nothing, but then, you just, immediately, stepped in and said, okay, here's what we're going to do. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
And, and then, after a month, I was able to jump back in, and, we've had a couple misses here and there, but, for the
Well, not
most
many.
part, yeah, it was there. So, but yeah.
No, it just having been or being a cancer survivor myself, I really felt like I knew what you were going through, and it's not a pretty journey at all. No matter where it takes you. Mine was over in about a year. Yours continues, and I don't know how you do it, but you not only do it, but you do it with grace. And but you're right. It takes a team around you, uh, support. I would like to think that radio probably helped you,
Mm-hmm.
just because your team continued to grow each and every week.
Right.
And as you brought new people onto your show, you increased your family, your support group, and I'm very fortunate to have a small part of that.
Oh,
So you earned everything you've gotten, without a doubt.
and it was definitely not a small part. It was very big, and and even just initially when I went to you and said, hey, I want to do this. So I was a guest on someone else's program on Mile High Radio, and I thought, this seems like fun. Because again, I kind of like to talk, and and so I went to Haas and I said, got a proposal for you. I would love to do a program where we talked about social media, because originally the program was called The Socialite, and we talked about how to use social media for business.
Yep.
And so I went to you, and as I said at the very start, it was in studio, went in and met with my guests there. And it's at that point was about a 45-minute drive each way for me. It was from, center of Denver down to from actually North Denver down to the tech center. So in really good traffic, it was 45 minutes.
Sure.
And, and I said, I don't want to do it every week. Can we do this every other week? And so he said, oh, okay, sure. No, you did. You let me do it that way for about 2 or 3 months.
Really?
And
I was a lot nicer back then.
Well, what we did was we had somebody else who did the other week.
Okay.
And then they dropped. And, and so then you came back and from a programming perspective said, this isn't going to work. We need to have consistency.
Right.
So you need to do this every week. Well, by then I was hooked, and I liked it. And I said, oh, okay, fine. And so I did, from then on it was every week. And then, it's been, I don't know, maybe 2-3 years. We started doing it every twice a week, and so it's been a lot of fun. It is a challenge because it's an hour-long program, and most podcasts are 20 to 30 minutes. But I always have such cool guests that we couldn't get it in 30 minutes. In fact, most of my guests, we hit the top of the hour, and I could still go for at least another hour.
Oh, absolutely. And that was one of the neat things about coming into studio, because back in those days, we'd do an hour talk show, and then we would do an hour music, then another talk show. And so we always had that hour buffer. And most of the time, the host and the guest stayed in studio, continued to talk.
Yeah.
And I would listen in on it, a lot of it, because that's what I do. And I thought, wow, this should have been part of the show. And I always thought we needed to do the show after the show. And we never did that. But, in the beginning, we weren't doing podcasts. I didn't even know what a podcast was.
It was a live broadcast.
We did live radio, and it just happened to be on the internet. But it was, we were on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and we just never shut down unless the radio god said, nah, we need this to burn up or this to malfunction.
Right.
So, we had our glitches there, but it always got me excited when I would watch ABC go down with technical difficulties, thinking, wow, it's not just us.
Happens to them too.
It happens to everybody. But, I learned so much from you, because you were the first one that said, I want to record. We want to do a podcast. I'm going, geez, really?
Hmm.
I want to do it live. But then I realized it opened up so many more doors to so many more people.
Right.
And now that's what everybody's doing. They're doing podcasts. I mean, quite honestly, maintaining a live studio is not cheap.
No.
And, I wish that I had gotten with the program a little bit sooner, but the program was just being developed way back then. I mean, this was a long time ago, at least in computer uh, life. What we started back in, well, I first got into internet radio. I started my first station in 2009,
Mm.
and Facebook hadn't been around very long. In fact, I don't think I even knew what Facebook was. And but we got started, and then I went off in a different direction with Mile High Radio, and but again wanted it to be real radio,
Mhm.
and had really no background other than, like you, I was a show host
Mhm.
on an AM station in Denver, and actually I was the co-host, and like you, I got bit by the radio bug and said, wow, this is fun. I could do this forever.
Mhm.
And but then we decided, hey, let's just do our own station. How cool would that be? And I thought, well, I can't be on the radio 24 hours a day myself, but I got to the point that I wasn't on the radio very much at all, because I had guests like you, and I had show hosts like you that I learned so much from. And I told all my friends, I'm a master at Trivial Pursuit. Holy cow, because I know a little bit about everything, because I learned so much from the show host and from your guests. Your guests were phenomenal. So
Yeah.
kudos to you. Congratulations for all the hard work, and
Thank you.
I'm proud of you.
Mhm. Thank you. Thank you. And really, it would not be possible if you weren't here. So, thank you
Thanks.
so much. And same with Kim. I mean, like I said, I probably would have hit burnout if I didn't have Kim saying, okay, we're going to do, and, here we go, going to do this. And so that's what's great. Any final thoughts from anybody?
Just congratulations.
Congratulations. Yeah, congratulations.
We all say it at the
I'm
same
throwing my own
time.
Yay!
Yeah, here's last thoughts that I will give to you. Thank you. One, I think Haas mentioned this already, but thank you for being an inspiration to so many of us in so many different ways, whether that be through the challenges that we're facing, through the opportunity to meet and be exposed to people who are bringing us new ways to look at things and do things and approach life, to just having the presence of mind to connect people. That is such an amazing gift that you are giving to the world. So thank you for doing that as a person. Thank you for doing that on your show. And thank you for doing that in all the many other ways that you're doing, even though you are questing to see you.
I know. Jane,
Love you, lady.
CSU person. Well, thank you
Right.
so much. Did anybody have anything else that they wanted to say?
Congratulations, Deb.
Congratulations.
You
Yeah.
ditto to everything Jane said. But you really are an inspiration to so many. You really are, in so many different ways and so many different walks of life. And I just really appreciate you. Thank you.
Well, and my guests really are what is the most important part of this program. I have never done one of the 499 other programs that I haven't learned something. And I think that's what is so cool, is even if it's a subject that we've talked about multiple times, each person brings their unique perspective. And so I have learned from every single guest. There's only been, I think, maybe 2 that whole time that I thought, okay, we don't need to have them on again. But, all the rest, I'm like, oh my gosh, can we book you again next week? Because everybody has such great knowledge to share. And that's what's so fun about this, is I have the ability then, as Jane said, to let them spread their message and their knowledge.
For my first podcast I've ever been on and been invited to. So for me, no matter where my future goes, you and your show will always have a special place and appreciation for me and my business and what I do. So I personally have that gratitude. Thank you for taking that risk on me and what I bring to the world, and for letting me get my voice out there.
Great, great. All right, folks. I do want to be very respectful of your time. So again, thank you so very much. Know how important you are to my heart. And I can't wait till the next time we chat. I think we have to do this before 500. We need to do this more often.
This has been fun.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Deb.
Bye.
Welcome to the Business Power Hour, hosted by Deb Creer. Join us as Deb talks with her guests, experts in their fields, as they share real-life stories and techniques to power up your business.
Well, hello there, Deb, and congratulations from Terry Brock and Gina Carr. Congratulations on 500 successful podcasts. Gina, what do you think of that?
I think it's amazing. Oh my God, I wish I had started a podcast years ago like she did and had such success. I mean, just think of all the lives that she's impacted and people that she's helped with the information that she's brought out to other people and the interviews that she's done.
Yeah.
I'm impressed.
I think it's very good, and we're wishing you 500 more or 5,000 more because you've been doing well. Matter of fact, you interviewed us when we were talking about our book Clout, which Clout, as you might know, is no longer in business. They went out, but you're still in business. You did it right. Good for you.
Yeah, that's impressive because yeah, you were nice enough to interview us right after our book came out back in October of 2013.
Yes.
And that was right about the time that Clout sold to another entity, lithium. Yeah.
Yep.
So it became a totally different thing. But as Terry and I like to say, the principles of Clout and social media influence still apply.
Yep, exactly. So Deb, congratulations. We're really happy. Gina, anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I just wanted to share a special memory of when I met you in person. Let's see if you could see that. We met in person. I think you could see that, right? Okay, so we met in person for coffee there in Atlanta. And let's see, Monica McFerrin was with us, and then Dwayne Kilburn. And so that was the first time I had actually met you in person. And it's a very memorable day because it was Snowmageddon. And I don't think you got home that night. And
what is Snowmageddon?
Snowmageddon was when I guess it was 2012 or so, that snow just came down, an unexpected storm, and it took over Atlanta, and there were cars just abandoned all over the place, and it was really wild and crazy, and it took about 4 hours to go less than 3 miles. So I got stuck overnight, and a lot of people did.
Okay.
Anyway, so I'll always think of you and Snowmageddon.
All right. Well, Deb, congratulations again, and we wish you the very best for another 500 or another 5,000. All the best to you. Bye now.
This podcast is part of the C-Suite Radio Network, turning the volume up on business.
Welcome to the Business Power Hour, hosted by Deb Creer. Join us as Deb talks with her guests, experts in their fields, as they share real-life stories and techniques to power up your business.
So thank you so much for agreeing to be part of this. It really is going to be so much fun to celebrate our 500th episode. Wow. When I started this, it was every other week because I didn't, I was like, do I really want to do it that much? And it was a live program. I went to a studio down in Denver to Mile High Radio and had my guests come in. So that was a lot of fun. My very first guest was Andrea Vall, who at that point really was Grandma Mary persona. That was so much fun to be able to have her. She's not going to be able to participate in our anniversary, so she's going to do a little recording for us. But, it really was so much fun. I started off the program as Deb Creer, the socialite. And we focused on social media, and several of you were guests way back then, and we did talk about social media, how to use it for business, all those various things, and then transitioned into, okay, we need to talk about more than just social media. So transitioned to the Business Power Hour. We went from Mile High Radio to C-Suite Network. And, so it's been just a fun growing progress, went from one time every other week to now we do it 2 times a week. and we have added the video component. So it really is a lot of fun to be able to do this. So I just kind of wanted to get, people's thoughts on, I want people to do a quick introduction of yourselves. A part of this was so that everybody could meet people, because I have all these fun, fabulous contacts. But so go around quick and introduce yourselves, and then I want to, get just a little bit of comments about what you think about the show. So let's just start up in the corner with Angela.
Hi, everybody. So I am one of the coaches and trainers at Vingresso. And we do LinkedIn sales training, digital transformation. I loved being on the show, and it's so fun because I try to follow every week, and I've made some excellent connections just by reaching out and commenting on the recent episode, which is what we're supposed to do as digital warriors. I've had some really wonderful connections with people from the podcast. So thank you, Deb.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you. Brian.
Hey guys, I'm Brian Basilico. I'm in Chicago, Illinois. The name of my business is B2B Interactive Marketing, and I'm known as the Bacon Guy. And I wrote a book called It's Not About You, It's About Bacon, Relationship Marketing in the Social Media World. And after I did that, I started a podcast called, guess what, The Bacon Podcast. And not only have I been interviewed by Deb, but she's been a guest on mine as well. And I've had a handful of you guys. And I primarily focus on content marketing. And there it is. Thank you, Vanna Jessen. Thank you, Vanna Deb. But that's, so I basically do content marketing strategy for people.
Great. Deborah.
Hi, everyone. I'm Deborah Jason, and I have a business called The Right Direction, and it's spelled W-R-I-T-E because I'm a copywriter. I've had my business, over 30 years. And I'm here in Boulder, Colorado. So I actually connected with Deb after she left Colorado.
I know. We never met in the many years that I lived there.
Well, I was gone for 10 years in Hawaii. So by the time I came back, Deb was gone, but I was fortunate to connect. We did a couple of sessions about LinkedIn because I do LinkedIn workshops, but I'm also the author of Millionaire Marketing on a Shoestring Budget. So I was lucky enough to have Deb support me when my book came out. And so I've been a guest on Deb's shows a couple of times. And we've had the good fortune to actually meet in person because she's a CU Buffs fan. So she comes back every so often to watch football.
Be back on Saturday.
Oh, well.
Yeah. So
we'll have to connect.
Definitely. Great. So Rebecca, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am here in Hurricane Central right now on the coast of South Carolina. So we're waiting, not patiently any longer, for Dorian to make his appearance. So that's why I had to position everything because all of our hurricane stuff that was outside is now behind me in my office.
Oh, no.
So I had to maneuver myself. So if I look a little funny, that's why.
Well, that's better than having it float around your office.
I know. Yeah.
I've seen some of this other video.
Yeah. So luckily we are not in an evacuation zone, although my phone goes off every 5 minutes with an alert telling me I need to leave. So I don't know if that's something I should pay attention to or not. But we've stayed in the past. We're staying this time. So we're going to power through it. But I am the founder of YOLO Insights and also the author of the YOLO Principle, the Ultimate Hiring Guide for Small Business. So in case you couldn't tell from that, what I do, I work with small businesses, helping them put together hiring strategies, finding the right people, working on helping them identify their organizational culture and how to apply that to their job descriptions, their advertising, everything to do with recruiting. And I also teach a lot of marketing principles to my clients as well, because recruiting these days is not for the faint of heart. It's very difficult, and you really do have to be applying those same principles that you do for sales and marketing to your recruiting. And I think, Deb, I've been on your show about 2-3 times, something like that. Yeah. And I don't even remember how I first met you, but we became
Yeah, and we've never met in person.
Never met in person, but yeah, we're Facebook friends and everything now. And I follow track all over the world and your travels everywhere.
I got to remember to pack him.
Yeah, so when you
pack, upset if he doesn't go.
Come to Myrtle Beach, we definitely have to have a drink or something.
This is true. This is true. Great. Well, Shannon, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I might be the only one in the group that's not something tied to marketing. I am a tax strategist. And so what I do is I help entrepreneurs mitigate their taxes. I also have a resolution firm, meaning that when you get yourself in trouble with the IRS, we're there to go after the big bag dragon and rescue you. I also own a holster company for women. So we make holstered lingerie for women. So I kind of have this eclectic little background, but the main focus is protecting entrepreneurs from the IRS.
Cool. You know, and you know, when you mentioned the holster thing, I've looked at Shannon's website and they're very interesting products.
What is holster lingerie?
Holster as in
I don't know, so I'm asking. I'm
as in they call me the gun-toting tax strategist.
Which, you know, if you're going up against the IRS, this is not a bad thing.
Well, it's definitely intriguing.
Yeah. So cool. Well, Jeffrey, jump in.
You bet. Well, thank you. Thank you all very much for having me today and being a part of this. It's kind of cool that, you know, who would imagine 10, 15 years ago, you'd say, hey, I have friends from all over the country we've never met. And, you know, it'd be something else, you know, or who would imagine 10 years ago that you'd actually let someone sit naked on your couch and you'd actually rent it out, you know what I'm saying? Or things like that. There's lots of different change here.
But holster lingerie.
Well, you know, you got to shop somehow. You have to shop somehow. Well, I thank you guys for being a part of it. Know a number of you here, and certainly with Deb and all the talent she's brought to C-Suite Radio and what we're doing. I'm chairman of the C-Suite Network, which is now, you know, 350,000 members strong, a community of lots of different organizations under one big umbrella now turned into a platform with C-Suite TV, C-Suite Radio, C-Suite Book Club, C-Suite Academy, all things that are C-Suite. And then, you know, just trying to do business with everybody and trying to help people do business and accelerate their business. And so that's what I'm here doing, and I'm having a blast doing it every single day. And today I was home. I have two homes. I live between New York and South Dakota, and I'm in what we call home, South Dakota. And I'm in my office in Sioux Falls, which is mostly our back office team that's here in this building. And so before I hit the road again for the next couple of months.
Brian.
Yep, I gotta do my spiel and then I gotta boogie.
Spiel. Yep. And for anybody who, you know, please don't feel like you need to stay the whole time. Come, go, do what you need to. So Brian, tell us a little bit. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Deb is like a sister from another mister. I mean, that's the thing about her, and the way she does her podcast is very much in my philosophy, which is we're both sitting down at a Starbucks having a cup of coffee. Mm-hmm. And it's amazing that your show is an hour, because I never even feel like it. It feels like we're talking for 10 minutes because you ask such good questions and you're so personable, and it is just a great conversation. And the thing I love about listening to your show is I learn from so many people that you've been able to pull together as guest experts. And you just provide so much value, so much knowledge, and you're just a wonderful host. It just fits you so well. So congratulations on 500. I know how hard that is. You know, it's a challenge to be that consistent, because most podcasts never make it past 30.
Right.
So it's amazing that you've done that. So kudos. I'd say hats off to you, but I'm having a bad hair day. So you are just amazing. You're a great friend and a wonderful person. Love tracks, love what you do. And here's to the next 500.
Perfect. Thank you. Well, and Brian is celebrating his 500 on the same day. Mm-hmm. I mean, wasn't that just bizarre? So yeah, so a lot of fun with that.
Well, thanks, Deb.
Great.
So congrats. We'll see you soon.
Thank you. See you soon.
Good to see you, Brian.
Good to see you all.
Have some bacon.
I'm planning on it. Buddy Guy's going to have some for sure tonight.
I know. Go Buddy Guy. We love Buddy Guy.
Buddy Guy. Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, Jeffrey, talk to us a little bit about podcasting and why this is something that has really caught on. Because, I think everybody here, obviously they've been guests. I think all of you would be great hosts. And it really is something that, the statistics are just staggering.
Oh, it's huge. It's not even close to its infancy. If you were thinking of it in terms of a newborn to, a senior, a very senior, we're still in the adolescent age of podcasting. And so it's amazing. Today, just give you an idea on C-Suite Radio, we started about a year and a half ago, and a year ago we had 30 shows. Now we have 150 hosts doing, well over 6,000 episodes a year. So just to give you an idea. So, and as Jeff had mentioned earlier, in terms of, not Jeff, but Brian had mentioned earlier that, most don't get past 30 episodes. Mm-hmm. 2 years to get to 500 is unbelievable. It's really great. And by the way, yours is double, almost triple the time of a normal podcast. Most podcasts typically, especially in the B2B market, are between 22 and 27 minutes. Basically for the time in which people work out,
right,
or driving to work, and they get time to get the coffee, put it in the car or on the train, and then they plug it in and listen. So they listen for 10, 15 minutes, and then on the way home they listen to the rest of it. That's typically what we see. And we're able to now track where people listen. We have one podcast where 28% of the downloads that come from that particular person's show is from an Apple Watch. So that tells you a lot. They're doing it while they work out, and so there's things you want to be in tune, and you want to watch what you do and serve your audience. I think the biggest thing for most things about podcasts, the reason why it's just taken off so well, is that you can do it in your dead time. And so most people want to be more productive. They want to learn more. They want to do things. And so used to be, we would just sit there and, and not do anything, or play mindless music. And now we're choosing to take and nurture our souls and nurture our minds. And, and I think that's an important piece that we're seeing that we don't normally get to see with a lot of other mediums like video, because we own C-Suite TV, but I don't watch anybody popping out a phone, and mostly because of bandwidth, and watching, a television show. And I have a television show as well. I used to have one on primetime on Bloomberg, but I also have a television show on C-Suite TV, but we just don't have the same kinds of numbers. It's way higher for podcasts than it is for video.
Right. And the technology is changing so quickly. I mean, the fact that we can do this on Zoom, all of these various things, that's what makes it so cool is, we've got that capability.
Yep.
Well, and I think it's going to grow. I was actually at a conference last week and someone spoke about podcasting, and they stated that Google actually has a mandate now that when people search a question, if it's in the tag of a podcast, it's going to start coming up and popping up in the search field. So that's amazing to me that now podcasts that have experts on them is going to actually be a search result potentially when they figure out the algorithm and bring those experts right to the top.
Well, not only that, I will tell you that we're using a technology out of Israel called Audio Burst, in which Deb's entire podcast or any of our host podcast shows are searchable by audio. Used to be you converted in the audio into text, and then it was searchable. But now with technology, you can actually search the heard word. And in doing so, you'll start to see more clips in the search engines of Google, Bing, and the others. And then you'll be able to click on it and then listen to that segment of the word that you just searched for, which is phenomenal. So that's going to open up a lot as well. So yeah, you're so right in that this is just the beginning. I don't know if you know this, but podcasts today, a network or shows, if you have monetary, if you've been able to monetize it, which we do for Deb and others, like Deb gets a check for advertising, it's trading at 100 times revenue, 100 times revenue. So, shows that we're selling, that they're grossing $1 million are selling for $100 million. Yeah, I'm very happy about it.
Yeah. Well, Lynn just joined us, and Lynn is from Mile High Radio,
Hey, Deb.
and several other things. And one of the things that she does is helps podcasters get started. And I think that's very cool. So Lynn, introduce yourself real quick.
So great to see you, Deb. It's so great to see everybody. My name's Lynn Burnett. I'm a VP at Mile High Radio. And yes, like Deb said, I help people launch a podcast very easily. I show them how to do it very simply because people are afraid. They're stressed out. They're not sure exactly. They get really freaked out about starting a podcast, thinking it has to be hard and complicated and costly and time consuming. And so I like to come in and show people how to start out just basic, just to see if they like it and see if it catches them like it catches me and Deb and all the other people. So, yeah. Me.
Cool. Well, and when I first started, it was fun because, like I said, it was in studio, and my guests were face to face, and so that really was cool. I mean, I like that part, and clearly I like to talk, and so I have a lot of fun with that. But for me, people are always saying, "What do you get out of it?" This is what I get. I get to meet some of the coolest people, and every single program I learn something. It doesn't matter what the subject is, I learn something every single time. And today the program that I recorded was on chronic pain. Very interesting topic. But the cool thing is what this gentleman is doing is he is crowdfunding his business, and he needs to raise about $15 million. And I mean, that was just fascinating to me to be able to learn how, what the heck he was doing. And it was, it's so fun for me to get to meet my guests because they really are super, super people with such great knowledge to share. And that to me, that's why I do this. This is so much fun.
Yeah, the people you meet, it's incredible. It's incredible. I met a woman through when the Rodney King verdict came down, and just everything just erupted in the streets, and she found herself with, a young African-American boy pointing a gun at her, and she thought, wow, this is crazy. And so she started an organization that still goes strong. So yeah, the people you meet and the things that they do, and it's story that connects us. So yeah, it's the best part for sure. And if you like to talk, well, you're set.
I know. But yeah, it is. It's so much fun to be able to meet people and, and to have guests on multiple times, like Rebecca was saying, I think you've been on 3 times. Deborah's been on several times. Jeffrey's been on a couple of times. And what that means is they've got such great information that I can't fit it even in that full hour. And so that's what's cool about it.
And as Brian said earlier, it's amazing how fast the time goes. I think every time I've been a guest, we're like, oh my God, it's time to wrap up. And we're like, really?
No. Well, and, it's fun because I use our tech usually and I'm typing, 10 minutes left, 5 minutes left. Right. And, and there've been a couple times where I've, just thought, enough, we're just going to go over. I don't care. But when the program was still on Mile High, they had a program on after me. And so I did have to watch the time. Yeah. And there was only one time where, and so I was typing, 10 minutes, just 5 minutes left. We need to wrap up. Stop. And the person was so enthused about what they were talking about, paying absolutely no attention. And sentence. I mean, it was one of those words like,
That's funny.
And I think that gives credence to your skill though, because I do a lot of guest spots on podcasting, and I've been on some that have been like walking through fire barefoot, and the host is not very conversational, and you feel like you're just carrying the whole show. So I think kudos to you, because definitely you have a way of connecting with individuals and meeting them at their point of understanding and bringing out their expertise so that your listeners on all different levels are going to connect. And so I think that's just superb.
Well, and I make it fun. I mean, you and I talked about taxes, but it was still very enjoyable.
That's good.
As enjoyable as taxes can be, yes.
And I
Yeah.
think, Deb, when I was on, as we talked, we kept getting ideas for new shows. And I think, we had, I don't know, way more ideas than we could ever cover in an hour. But it was just really interesting. The points that you would bring up would spark ideas for me. And then I was like, oh, I need to do that with my clients, or I need to write a blog about that, or something along those lines. So I think the learning for me as a guest was just as much as being able to share what I knew with your audience. So, and it's one of the things that I love about what I do in recruiting is I learn something new every day, and I meet the most fascinating people that I would never have access to if I didn't do what I do. So I just really like sharing what I do and meeting new people, and being a guest on your podcast has really facilitated a lot of that too.
Yeah, it's, and it's, that's what I love, is that it is that give and take. Because it is, it's that conversation, it's sitting and having, it's not a cup of coffee, it's just water. I thought about champagne
Or vodka. Why not vodka?
I know.
We know you have to say it's water, but we understand. No judgment zone.
No, hey, listen, I drink scotch on my show. I don't care. I'm fine with that. But Deb, you're so right. It takes two to tango. I mean, that's the old saying about dancing, and the podcast interview is a dance, and it's really a give and take. And so many hosts make really stupid moves where they talk too much and they don't listen enough and they don't ask the provocative questions. You can have bad guests. I've had bad guests. I've had guests who, after it was, I taped it. He goes, how'd I do it? I said, it was so bad I'm not using it. And I said that to him, or you felt like you were asking him a question, and the person I was interviewing was like shaking his head. Hey, dude, this is an audio.
You need to talk.
Exactly. But, you can have even, really tough ones. I've had really tough conversations with some really people. I mean, I once interviewed, and this will be great to tell you because you're all women here on this
I know, it's Jeffrey and his
show.
girls.
It's me. Hey, it's all right. Hey, I'm cool. But, once I interviewed the person who wrote the book, or wrote the Goldman Sachs, Overheard in Goldman Sachs Elevator, the tweet. And then he did a book, and he's in the finance industry. And he actually, we were in New York together, but he was downtown. I was uptown because technology allows us to do that. And we were doing the interview, and in the middle of the interview, he said, well, when finance, women are tethered goats. I said, excuse me? And he said, tethered goats. I mean, tethered goats like in Jurassic Park, like they're bait? And he goes, yeah. I said, dude, you make me so mad right now. If you were here, I'd punch you in the frickin' throat. And I said that. And he goes, well, you shouldn't get upset by that. I go, upset by it? I'm upset. Yeah. I'm telling you right now, I can't say the language I use because I get red light level.
I know Jeffrey has one of the podcasts that says, the bad words.
Yeah, I say the bad words, and that's one of them. I have two podcasts now, but that's one, and I get red dots. But I don't care because I said, if you were here, I said, you just disgust me. You frickin' disgust me. I said, and on top of that, don't you have daughters? Because I knew his background. And he said, yeah. I said, I can't even believe that somebody said, well, you don't understand the industry. I said, I don't care about the industry. The industry says you're a human being, and he's a human being. You should be standing up for what's right and what's wrong, and you obviously don't. So, you can have those kinds of conversations, which I think are good. I mean, I didn't like his position, but I did like to have the conversation because I got to at least espouse my own views, which I, like to do from time to time.
Oh, yeah.
And you aired the episode like that?
You bet
You
I
said
did.
that?
You
Oh,
bet.
good.
You bet.
Good.
I tweeted about it. I posted about it. I look for, also, it's one of the good things you should do in a podcast for those listening on the podcast about your shows. And you should as guest as well. Like, for instance, I had Gene Simmons on my show from my show, All Business. It's typically you have to be a $1 billion brand, high profile, have at least 100,000 followers, so typically they're very high profile folks. Like today I was inviting Lou Dobbs, Jim Cramer, and this is who we are interviewing for that. And I had Gene Simmons on, the rocker. I got Gene Simmons fired on Celebrity Apprentice when I was a judge on Celebrity Apprentice. But I was interviewing him, and I got him to say that he said, if you can't speak English in this country, you shouldn't do business. And I went, whoa. So remember that on the Times thing, and I wrote it down. And then, of course, we started running ads, see what, in Pakistani Business Association, Korean Business Association, every ethnic group we could find, because that draws more people into the show. So you look for those clips, that you say, and you as a guest should have one or two of those, right? Those tweetable moments, those tweetable sections, and then you should promote the heck out. Did you hear what I said on Deb's podcast? Blah blah blah.
It's probably not going to be controversial, but good business tips are just as important.
Well, here's the thing. When I first started doing podcasting as a guest, I had haters, and I was shocked that I had haters. And I had one of my friends said to me, he's an internet marketing guy, and he said, well, here's the deal. If you're not doing enough out in the marketplace and as far as marketing, if you don't have haters.
Right. You're not a thought leader unless you have haters.
Exactly. And he's like, you're controversial, you're a gun-toting libertarian, you have conservative viewpoints, and you talk about things that get people riled up. The IRS gets people riled up, guns get people riled up, and you're controversial, and you're going to have haters, and just love it, embrace it, and just, and use it for your benefit.
Well, and, we all have to be authentic to ourselves. I mean, that's just the thing, whether it's, on something like this or posting on social media or doing whatever, when we get to want to go with the flow, well, that's just boring. I mean, who wants to do that? And I purposely don't do stuff like that on my podcast for the most part. But, what I love is that people are so passionate about business and, and things like that. But yeah, we have to be true to ourselves. And it's funny, I've had to turn some guests down because of things like that. I had a guest one time, and she was someone who had a PR firm, award winning. I mean, this woman knew her stuff, but she could not say a sentence without the F word in it. And, and it was like, and so she and I kind of talked about it, and, and I followed her on social media. So I knew that was, that was her. But her target market for the company she worked with, that was perfect. She worked with Pearl Izumi bikes and the edgy type of brands. And, so swearing like a sailor was perfectly fine. Now, you can't do that here in the South. You can actually be arrested in some counties down here for saying bad words. And so, but yeah, it was just,
just crazy.
I know. And
Deb, I've got to run. I didn't know if you wanted a quick sound bite or not.
Sound bite.
Okay. Gosh, now that I offered my mind has gone blank. Okay, so I'll just say what I wrote in the chat. I didn't want to really interrupt, but I do need to run. I just want to say congratulations on your 500 episodes. It was a blast being a guest on your show several times, and I wish you all the best. And here's to 500 more.
Thank you. And please stay safe with the hurricane.
Oh, yeah, we've got all our supplies. We have beer, we have wine, we have tequila, we have vodka, so we're good.
There you go.
I know, when we get the bread and milk warnings down here in Atlanta when it's going to snow, I'm like, bread and
I don't eat bread, I don't drink milk, so.
I know, I'm like, wine and cheese, folks. Do y'all not understand? You got
Yeah, pick your carbs wisely.
Yeah, that's right. Yes. Well, great. Congratulations, Deb. All the best.
Thank you so much.
Okay, bye-bye, everyone.
Bye. Nice to meet you.
Bye.
Nice meeting you.
Bye. The cool thing about podcasts is we can find a podcast that fits no matter what we want to talk about. Right. There are so many, and and if you can't, then start your own. I mean, that really is the cool thing, is you can start your own and talk about whatever you want to talk about. And it might not be that you can talk about it twice a week or do all of those things, but have fun with it. I think that's the most important thing, is you absolutely have to have fun with it.
Yeah. Oh, you're right. I see so many people that get so stressed out about trying to be so perfect. And I'm sure you see everybody sees them in the groups, and people are stressing over the simplest things and about guests and whether their logo is right and whether they're not sure how to tell a guest something, and they just stress about it. And I think you're getting away from, you know, the grassroots sort of the idea of what podcasting is about, and it is to have fun. And I think that people that have been in it for so long, you know, gee, grabbed me 10 years ago. I didn't start out to be a podcaster and I had no clue, but holy hell, it's been a lot of fun. And
oh yeah, you know, and again, you meet such cool people.
Yeah, and you have to be true to yourself, because you're right. You're going to find the people that gravitate towards you. There's podcasts on yoga. There's podcasts on knitting. There's podcasts on everything. I don't think I've actually come across something that there isn't a podcast on.
Right.
And, you know, I think that it really, what it does, the podcasting community is such a supportive, strong community that I've seen people that have been successful in dealing with depression and things like that through podcasting, because the community is so powerful and supportive and there for each other. You know, there's some bad apples in every deal, but you know, but for the most part, podcasting is a very supportive community and very passionate about the platform. And there's some things that are coming along that kind of worry me a little bit in terms of maybe opening the door for the FCC being able to stick their nose in there. But yeah, I mean, it's a fun gig, and it's not for everybody. You know, people will, you know, pod fade, but I think they get a little too stressed about it. But
The thing I think about podcasting, if you're not hosting your own, is when you're on one, then you sort of get connected. Like I think I introduced you to Brian Basilica, you know, and so I always, as a guest, say, is there anyone that you'd like to have as a guest that I can refer to you? Or do you know someone else who has a podcast that, you know, is looking for guests? So I like that part of the community as well, because right now I don't want to be one who has to plan one, two, I don't know, you know, 2 a week, or even it's overwhelming to me. But I think the community in general is supportive both ways, whether you're a guest or whether you're a host.
Right. Some require more prep than others. I've done shows where I prepped an hour before and then I've gone on live. I think it really depends. But with, you know, I used to have a show that was similar to Deb's. It was focused on kids and families. And so I had all kinds of different people on and had written books and things like that. And there was preparation involved. I would read, so, you know, and then I've had other ones that were a little bit more lighthearted. So I think it really depends on the type of show. Again, the beauty of podcasting and doing something that's so real to you and being yourself, you're going to find your people. You're going to find your people.
Yeah.
Well, I think what I really loved about doing a podcast with Deb was, you know, everybody thinks they know about LinkedIn. And everybody has some idea of what it is. And she asked really great questions that took us into some really interesting territory that was not your run-of-the-mill at all. And I thought that was super interesting.
Well, thank you.
Well, to add to that, you know, Deb, because I've been on Deb's show and we've talked about LinkedIn. So what I think is amazing, because she did, was it in February? You did that whole week of LinkedIn?
The whole month, every program, and that was the one Angela was on. Every program in the month of February, and I'll probably do that again. That was very popular.
And everyone, my point is, everyone had something different to say.
Yep. Oh yeah. So I had 8-ish guests, and yeah, and you know, the 8th one was just as interesting as the first one.
The first one.
That takes skill.
Well, you know, the cool thing is there's so much out there, you know, in so many different ways. And Rebecca, you know, she's gone now, but she was on one of the series that we did on job search, because again, you know, there's so much content out there. And I think that's part of what I want to do is, you know, bring in all of these different resources, you know, and have them in one place so that you're not having to figure out, okay, LinkedIn, what the heck? Or I'm looking for a job. Now what am I supposed to do? And, and that was what's fun about those series, and just totally different programs. I mean, that's where I have so much fun. Like I said, I talked to the guy about chronic pain today. And, is it things that you wouldn't even think about being a business topic, it turns into a business topic because, they're in business. And so that's what makes it interesting. But then hearing the personal stories and that I really try and get from everybody is, what is your personal story? Why are you doing this? Why is it your passion? And the cool thing is nobody goes,
But it's not about the business, although you've got the Business Power Hour, which is obviously a big success. You got 500 episodes, but it's the personal connections you make too. I mean, I have a gentleman, and I get these all the time, Deb, I'm sure you do too, where, I talk business but it spills over to personal life. But this one particular guy who suffered stroke and is in a wheelchair and totally debilitated. And the podcast served as motivation for him. And not only has he regained, not that I'm the reason for that, but he's regained a lot of use and a lot of things, but he was down a lot, and it pumped him up enough and inspired him enough. Now he has his own podcast.
Cool.
And it just never thought that would ever happen, but how cool is that? Now, he won't be on our business network, but how cool is it that he did that and was able to do that? And that's what you find from these things. So in some way, and it's amazing. I tell you, the biggest things I find is that people come up and said, "Hey, you remember when you said this or you wrote this?" And I'm going like, "What the hell? No, I don't remember any of that."
Where did that come from?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and people go back years and listen to programs, back from way back. I was just looking at some stats today, and, I still have just because I've been lazy, I haven't transferred everything to one platform. And so I'm still on two. But I've been on Megaphone, the one through C-Suite now for 18 months or so. The other platform I used just in the last couple of days had 120 plays. So I mean, those were programs that were several years old.
That's cool. They're evergreen. That's what's really cool about podcasting is it's evergreen. You can go back and check it. And by the way, what's right on one show, like I can imagine, Deb, in the month that you did all the LinkedIn, you had people who were opposites.
Mm-hmm.
They said, "No, you must do this." And then Angela said, "No, you must do this." And they were complete opposite. And that's okay too, because what works for one person doesn't work for the other person. Exactly. So you find out your own groove, and you kind of get into it and you make it work.
Yeah. Shannon's probably about the only one that there's cut and dry lines. The IRS doesn't let you fudge.
There is a little bit of room for interpretation, though. We get some of those private letter rulings that let us kind of go at it from a different angle. So
interesting. Well, we've only got about 10 minutes left, and I am so appreciative of the fact that you all have taken your time out of your very busy days to do this. So I am going to be a little self-serving and ask for quotes, or just little sound bites, and then we'll wrap this up. Who wants to
go in any particular order?
Oh, well, if you've thought of something, go ahead and jump in.
Well, I don't know if it's anything profound, but what I love about being on your show is how easy it is in terms of the flow. Like I said earlier, we get on the call, and before I know it, you're saying, it's time to go. And I think we did have one session where it's supposed to be short, and we ended up going longer. So you really make it easy for people we've talked a lot in here about being authentic. And I think that word is sometimes overused, but I think it's really true. You just are genuine and make it easy for your guests to just be themselves and share whatever comes up in a way that serves others. So I certainly appreciate that about how enjoyable it is to work with you and how well you have served others for 500 episodes. So
500. Thank you.
Bless your heart. That's my profound thing. Bless your heart.
So I would just add, when we had our podcast, we talked about tax strategy and we talked about avoiding IRS issues. And those are really things that scare a lot of people. And I think that during the hour that we spoke, we actually were able to really drill down and give people practical advice that will save them not only on their taxes, but if they find themselves in a situation that they know that there's resources out there. So I just, it was a very easy conversation to have. And sometimes those topics such as taxes and tax IRS issues are not always an easy thing to talk about. And during that hour, I think we were able just to kind of bring it to a place of people's understanding and keep it very conversational and very non-threatening. So that I think that after, in fact, I've listened to it and I've shared the podcast, that people have actually made comments like, wow, like this gives me hope, or this, I don't have to worry. After listening to that, that kind of like took the edge off. So I just thank you for actually being able to ask those in-depth questions to actually pull out of your experts the things that are going to help your listeners. And congratulations on 500 episodes. And here's to the next 500.
Thank you. Thank you.
Deb, I'll give you one, then I got to log off because I'm cooking for my granddaughters tonight.
Oh.
And they're
That's for dinner.
4 and 2. We're having West Virginia chili dogs. That's just very if you grew up in West Virginia, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't care. So there you go. But we're having chili dogs with slaw on them, so it's called West Virginia slaw dog. Hey, so there's 365 days in the year. There's only 1 year, and there's 52 weeks. There's 12 months, and there's 24 hours in a day. But there's only one Business Power Hour hosted by Deb Cryer, and she's got over 500 episodes, and she's right on C-Suite Radio. And we're so happy to have her part of our network.
Well, I appreciate it, and I love being part of C-Suite Network because it is such a valuable resource.
Thank you, and best of luck.
Thank you.
Well, Deb, congratulations on 500 episodes. And what I really want to express is, as an introvert, it makes me very nervous to go on somebody else's podcast because you never know what to expect. And I'm going to say I was not nervous at all going on your podcast. I had a sense of ease and confidence going into it. I just knew it was going to be conversational and natural, and it was going to be really easy. And it seriously was. I've done lots of podcasts. I do a couple of guest podcasts a month. Yours was the funnest one that I've done.
Oh, yay. Thank you.
It was just so
fun.
It was just so easy and so natural. And like everybody else has said, I never know how you're going to fill a whole hour, and it goes by so quick. Thank you.
I have such cool guests that, that it is, we really do fill the hour, and, and that's what's fun about it, is getting to know them for that hour. And I always want to go longer. It's never, ever long enough.
Deb, I think it was 3 years ago I was on your show.
I know, it's been a while.
I think it was, I'm trying, as I'm listening, I'm thinking back to my head of certain things I was doing at a certain time and when I started my network and all of that, and at the station, and my life, my career has changed a lot since I've been on your show. Who knows that inquiring call that you made to us all that time ago and where it would lead me today. But I do remember having a fabulous conversation with you and being a guest on your show. Very easy to speak so passionately about business and what it means and how it is really such a part of our lives, and the podcasting. It's just in us, and if we don't do it, there's something missing. So I loved that conversation with you. And it does go quickly. I know from sitting on both sides of the mic how fast the time goes when you are talking about something that is so near and dear, and you make it look effortless. I wish I should send all my hosts to look at Deb the way she hosts. You've refined and honed it so well, and congratulations. And I know you're going to keep going, and I look forward to seeing what other things that you do. And just congratulations. You rock. You rock.
Thank you. And, this really has been so much fun. And I think I need to do this more than every 500 episodes, predominantly because it's a great way for everybody else to connect. That was part of what I wanted to do was, make connections with people. Because that's what, what we're all here to do is we're all here to help and to build relationships. And I just really appreciate the fact that you all are part of my life. Again, thank you so much for being part of this retrospect. So everyone, have a great rest of your day, and thank you, thank you, thank you.